This episode, we got a new project vehicle. Okay, here it is. It's the new project. It's a 1995 Jeep Wrangler YJ. This is for my second daughter, Kennedy. She decided she wanted a Jeep, and when we started looking, we realized Jeeps are kind of expensive. It's kind of hard to find a good deal. So we ended up with this one. It's got a bit of work to do on it. It's got a little bit of rust. But what I'll do is I'll grab the camera and we'll kind of do a walk around, and I'll show you the different issues it has and what we've got planned. Okay, so here's the front end. As you can see, it's a YJ. It has the square headlights. Love them or hate them. They're kind of growing on me. Makes it a little bit different than most of the Jeeps you see out on the road there. So some of the trouble issues, you can see it's got a bit of surface rust here. We're going to take care of that. We're going to, basically the plan is to do a quick respray on the whole Jeep here. Just get it looking spiff. We're going to probably remove this weird receiver thing on the front. I'm not sure, we'll see. It is the 2.5 liter, so my daughter's not really planning on doing a ton of off-roading or anything. This is more just kind of a cool vehicle to cruise around town in with the top off. This is some of the worst area right here. We've got this fender here. You can see it's kind of it's got a dent there. It's got some surface rust. Paint's kind of peeling there. It's got a crack. Here you can see the paint is bubbling. So we're gonna pull these fender flares off and see how bad it is. Hopefully we can repair it. Otherwise we'll just kind of get a replacement fender for there. Moving down the side, or the front windshield, you can see it's got a bit of rust starting around there too. And you know what they say about rust? It's kind of like an iceberg. What you can see is just the tip. So we may try to salvage this, or you can also purchase a new windshield frame for about $400. So we might do that and save us a bunch of time. We're gonna remove all these mirrors and door handles and stuff and give them a respray. We'll respray the Nerf guards or steps, whatever you call those. You can see, I just realized actually this morning while I was getting ready, there's a little patch here that somebody's done. So when we strip the paint off there, we'll see how that is. We may redo it, or we may just do some body work so that it's not standing out like that. It looks like they did a patch and then just spray bombed it there to cover it up. But the other thing is, like, the doors, they're cracking here and here, and both of them are cracked here on the inside. You can see on that side as well. It's fairly standard on these old YJs. I think it's kind of a stress point from the doors. So we're gonna take the doors off. We'll weld these up and respray the doors as well. The interior is pretty good. Dash is free of cracks and everything. It's got nice carpeting in it. The passenger seat is pretty good. Driver's seat has some cracking here, which we'll get some seat covers for that. In the back here, back seat looks pretty good. Again, it's all got nice carpeting in here. It does have the hard top with the speaker bar, which is nice. It also came with a soft top that we're going to probably get on. My daughter doesn't actually get her driver's license until December. So right now it is July, so it gives us a bit of time to get this done. The top, you can see somebody actually painted it with a brush or something, so we're gonna respray that as well. The molding around the windows needs to be replaced. Let's see here, a little bit more rust showing through here, but most of this is, I'm hoping, surface rust, but we'll see as it comes apart. My daughter Kennedy also witnessed all the work that went into the Rabbit, and she's hoping we can get away with not as much body work as we had to do on that. So this side is actually pretty good. Has a small little dent here, but we should be able to fix that. And maybe that's what that patch is for on the other side. Maybe something just hit that 4x or something rather than it be rust, which would be a better case scenario. You can see a little bit better here, the rust. This is probably the worst part of the windshield right here. So anyways, let's see, this side is pretty good. It's got a bit of rust in here. But yeah, the frame is pretty solid all the way along. I know that can be an issue with these YJs. This side under here looks pretty good. It's all pretty solid. And the biggest trouble spot on these YJs is these rear frame hangers. This side is nice and solid there. At the very rear, we've got a bit of an issue, which we will be taking care of. You can see we've got some kind of thin spot, or a hole, not a thin spot, a hole there, and a little bit behind here. It's actually fairly solid other than those two spots, but we will be repairing this as well at some point. Probably gonna start with the body work though, because of the warmer summer months here. So we're gonna try and get this body work and paint done by end of September. So we've got a couple of months basically. So I'm gonna try and crack on her, but let me open up the hood and I'll show you the engine. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. These Jeeps came with either the 2.5 4-cylinder or 4-liter 6-cylinder. The 6-cylinder is definitely a more popular engine, but this is also fairly high mileage. It's about 300,000 kilometers, which is around, I don't know, a little over 200,000 miles. So it's getting fairly worn, and I would think we're maybe long-term goal would be to do an engine swap, maybe a V8 or something. But anyways, it seems to run pretty good okay, but we haven't driven it too much, so we'll have to work on any problems that come up as they go. First off, as you can see, it needs a bit of a cleanup. So, but today it's going to be mostly reassembly, or sorry, not reassembly, disassembly. So I'm gonna get the camera ready and we'll start on that. Okay, so we're gonna start by removing these fender flares off all the way around. Give us an idea of what kind of shape the fenders are in, especially on the other side where that rust is. Basically, the way they are attached is basically kind of a metal screw with a, I think it's like a 5/16 head on it, into a little plastic block. So the screw comes through this way into the block. Kind of a pain because this block tends to start to spin, and it's a little bit tight in here, so you got to get a pair of light pliers or something to hold this. So it's a little bit frustrating, but let's get started. Okay, so here's the one side done. This side isn't too bad. Actually, I guess it's not done. I still have to get that one little piece off, which is going to be a bit of a challenge because it's got larger bolts on, which I'm going to have to cut off somehow without damaging it. Here's the rear. So what I ended up doing was basically I ended up using a cutting disc on my angle grinder because the those things, the heads on those little bolts are too small. It's a real pain to try and get the Allen key on, or the ratchet on. So it's easier just to cut them off, and I'm going to use some type of different fastener when we reinstall them. So I'm going to get to work on the other side. Okay, so here's a look at the what I would call the bad side. It's going to need some work. Like I showed you before, it's cracked right here. This is, you can see the paint is bubbling here, and then managed to get the basically the complete fender flares off this side. The rear looks pretty good. It is no real rust or anything. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So I'll have to strip some of the paint off here and see how bad this is, and whether we can salvage this or whether we need to replace the fender. But anyways, one step at a time. Wow, so okay, there was a lot of Bondo all in this area. I think it's pretty obvious this has been repaired before, and probably not very well. You can see it has some rust here, and the problem is this is I think it's rusting from the inside out. So I'm not going to rate it off quite yet. I think what I'm going to do is pull this fender off and see what we can get to from the back side. I could always just cut this bad metal out, weld in some new metal, but depending how bad it is, I'm also going to take a look around for a used fender. I think you can get them for around $75, $50. New ones I think are around $150 Canadian. So we'll see. I'm not giving up on this yet, but it's a little worse than what I was expecting, so it's kind of how it goes. Okay, so finally some good news. This patch is actually done quite well. They just didn't do the body work very well over top of it, so I think that's fine to leave. We'll just put a new skim coat of filler over that once we do the body work on this side, and I think that's a little bit less work than I thought we were gonna have to do. So doesn't look like rusty at all, so I think it probably did just get caved in or something, and they just cut out the dent and welded in the new patch. So that's good news. Okay, so that was a long day when it was really hot today, but we got most of the Jeep disassembled. Still got to do the back end here, remove the spare tire holder, tail lights, license plate holder. But we got a lot done. We're happy with the progress, and that's where we're going to call it for this episode. But as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Analog Generation.